Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ. And make sure you hit that like button because we're getting into this NLDS series going up against the Cubs. And remember, we hit 6 home runs in that first game. Something that will probably never happen again, but it was a nice change of pace to see our offense leading us instead of the pitching. So now we're back in here, game 2. Darvish on the mound for the Cubs. And remember how last game started with the leadoff home run? Not this time, as Brinson strikes out that time. Darvish has a pretty good repertoire of pitches. I mean, he has a fastball that can touch, the upper 90s. He also has a pretty good slider. He's just a all-around pretty good pitcher. And you remember he had that season with the Dodgers last year. He kind of disappeared a little bit in the playoffs, but, he was a good addition to get them there. But here he's with the Cubs now. So facing Manny Machado in the top of the first inning. Manny Machado takes one deep, but that's barely foul. And our MVP comes back up. 2-2 count. Strikes out on the low slider that time. So now we're headed to the bottom of the first inning with Jarlin Garcia on the mound. And Jarlin Garcia, if it wasn't for Michael Fulmer, he would have been our ace, and he had a pretty good season of his own. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And as a lefty in the rotation, it's important to have a pretty good lefty, and he's going to be our staple going forward. Probably number 2, him and Fulmer are probably going to be the 1 and 2. I can't see Braxton Garrett, progressing to be better than him because Jarlin Garcia is just getting better. I mean, he just gets better and better. He had a really good season. And, if he keeps having these good seasons, he's going to keep getting better as well. You see Justin Bour, his potential went up based on the season he had. And Jarlin Garcia, I can just see his potential keep rising as Justin Bour, speaking of him, comes to the plate here in the second inning and gets a hit to the right side to start out the inning. So man on first here with the guy that's been hot for us up to this point. JT Realmuto gets going once again in game 2 with the hit down the line. And Justin Bour's got 19 speed. We're going to try to make it, but then we're going to second guess it. No outs in the inning. Not going to take a risk there with some pretty good bats coming up. So Jung Ho Kang comes to the plate. 0-2 count, but pops up here to the third baseman. But there's still one out in the inning. And no chance for a double play here. So guys on second and third here. Johnny Giavotella comes to the plate, and he draws a walk. But unfortunately, we have Jarlin Garcia, our pitcher. So hopefully he can maybe come through for himself. So he's facing a 1-1 count here. An outside fastball takes it the other way. And Jarlin Garcia helps himself out on the mound as Realmuto comes in to score. An unlikely hit by our pitcher, but he drives in 2 runs here, and we take the 2-0 lead once again on the road as Brinson pops up this time to the second baseman, and Josh Bell grounds out, but not before 2 runs come across the plate. And Jarlin Garcia doing a pretty good job on the mound as well. You can see here giving up a hit, but hasn't given up many, and you can see who that hit was given up by. Darvish actually got that hit. So both pitchers get hits in their first at-bats in this game, as Justin Bour has to be taken out of the game after diving on that one. So we bring in Danny Valencia, and here the next batter comes up. Almost a double play, but now we're facing Javier Baez on a 3-1 count, 1 out. He takes it the opposite way. And now they got guys on first and second here with 1 out. And here comes Almora Jr., and he hits one down the left field line over the third baseman's head that time, Jung Ho Kang. And that's going to be fielded off the wall, but the Cubs are going to trim this lead down to 1. So we have Anthony Rizzo at the plate. We intentionally walk him to possibly set up a double play ball here, but we're running into Chris Bryant. And Chris Bryant hitting over 300 this season, but we get him to strike out that time on the slider. So here comes Wilson Contreras here, up with 2 outs, 2-1 count, and he gets a hit, delivers, and Josh Bell comes up throwing. And what was that throw? He has probably the worst throw I've seen coming out of left field, and that wasn't even close as 2 runs come across the plate. But Jarlin Garcia does settle down, gets the pop up to Brinson, but 3-2 here going into the 4th inning as Harleen Garcia runs into a little bit of trouble there. So on to the 4th inning this time. Jung Ho Kang is getting going in this inning with a leadoff hit to the right center gap as Johnny Giavotella follows that up, but hits a hard ground ball to Javier Baez into the double play. So now we got 2 outs in this inning. Harleen Garcia comes up once again, and he delivers with a hit to the left side once again. So 2 for 2 here for Harleen Garcia, the pitcher, and pretty unlikely here. So we're keeping this inning going with a Lewis Brinson 3-2 hit to the right side to Jason Hayward. So now guys on first and second here with Josh Bell coming to the plate. 1-2 count, and he swings at a high pitch, but it gets away from Contreras there at the plate, and now it's going to be bases loaded for Domingo Santana, the 3-hitter. So can we pull this off with 2 outs, 2-1 count, gets a pitch to hit up the middle, but nice play this time by Addison Russell, getting to the ground ball, flipping to Baez at second, and they do get out of this inning with no runs across the plate. So on to the top of the 7th here, and we're back at the top of our lineup. Lewis Brinson starting out this inning, getting walked, and that's going to be the end of Yu Darvish. Goes through 6 innings of work, but they bring in Anthony Swarzak. You remember Swarzak from the last episode? We kind of shelled him, so I'm surprised they put him in the game here to face the top of our lineup as Josh Bell comes to the plate on a hit and run, delivers with a hit to the right center gap. And look at Brinson. He's on his horse, headed home, and he's going to score on this one all the way from first base. So that is going to tie this game up at 3 apiece, and there's still no outs in this inning. So, I mean, we've had pretty good luck versus Swarzak, but he does get Domingo Santana to strike out that time on the outside slider. The check swing did go around, and here's Manny Machado at the plate. He strikes out, and up comes Danny Valencia. 2 outs here, and he hits a pop-up to the right side, and that one's just going to drop in down the right field line as we got guys on the corners for JT Realmuto, the guy that's been hot for us up to this point in the postseason. And on a 2-1 count, he hits one hard to the right side, and that one's going to drop in front of Jason Hayward, and a run is going to come across the plate as Danny Valencia makes it all the way to third base. So JT Realmuto keeps his hot hitting going in game 2, and Jung Ho Kang draws a walk. So now bases loaded here. They bring in Carl Edwards Jr. to face Johnny Giavotella in the 8th hole, and on a 3-2 count, 2 outs, he pops this one up to Jason Hayward in right field, but we do get a run across the plate, and it's going to be a 4-3 lead. We got to protect this lead, so we bring in Edebrey Ramos, and look at that ERA, 1.49 during the regular season. So you know he's going to be looking to shut this Cubs offense down as he gets Chris Bryant swinging that time. The next batter is going to pop up to Justin Bour here in the 8th inning to Valencia. And one more time, Ian Happ strikes out on the high heat. So now Ramos into the 9th inning here. 3-2 count to Jason Hayward. So we're now 2 outs away from taking a 2-0 lead. But Ramos does give up a hit down the line to Martin Maldonado. And somehow Josh Bell having more trouble in left field this time. Lets Maldonado get to second base. So now facing a pretty good hitter in Addison Russell, but Russell cannot hit that one. So now one more out before taking this 2-0 lead. Javier Baez has a chance to tie this game up, and he goes around on the outside slider on the outside part of the plate, and that is going to be, I mean, just complete shutdown that time from Edebrey Ramos, and he gets 5 strikeouts to end the game here in the 8th and 9th innings. And we did the unthinkable here. Went on the road at Wrigley, got 10 hits. We gave up 10 hits as well, but we take the 2-0 lead going back home. As you can see, Ramos just 5 strikeouts in 2 innings, just straight domination. So looking at the last 2 games in this series, we won 11-3, then won that close one just a moment ago, and now we're back at home. We give the ball to DeSclafani here in game 3, and we decide to put Beltre in for this game, strictly because, you know, Jung Ho Kang, I kind of like Beltre a little bit better, Gong is a nice guy off the bench, but I like what Beltre brings to the offense. So now we're getting this game going here at home as DeSclafani starts out this game in pretty good fashion here, getting Hayward to strike out this time and facing Rizzo on a 3-2 count, gets him to strike out at a pitch in the dirt, and that's going to be 3 outs here early on in this first inning. So 1-2-3 inning to start out the game. So here in the bottom of the first inning, we're facing Hendricks, who, you know, I love facing Hendricks. There's a reason why, because he has pretty good movement on his stuff, but he doesn't throw a hard fastball. It's about 88 miles an hour. It's very easy to see out of his hand, and he's got one of those easy motions to pick up. So hopefully, you know, we can tee off on him this game as Domingo Santana gets a hanger, but an easy ground ball that time to Baez as they turn 2 and they get out of the first inning. But now we're on to the bottom of the second inning with Manny Machado coming to the plate, and he hits one hard up the middle, and that one's going to drop before Ian Happ in center field, and he's going to allow Manny Machado to get to second that time on the double. So now Justin Bour comes to the plate, 38 home runs in the regular season, so you know he's going to be looking to tee off on Hendricks, who gives him a meatball over the middle, and that one is not coming back as Justin Bour goes deep. And that is going to be a pretty good feeling because Justin Bour, remember, he didn't hit any home runs in that first game when we had 6 home runs, and usually he would be the one to hit the home runs. But he did not go deep, but he goes deep in this one. But wait, look out in the crowd. Is that LeBron out in the crowd there? I think that might be a sign of things to come. Is he returning to Miami? We'll have to see after that game 4 loss, that sweep. It's pretty sad. I mean, they got swept in that series. But back to the game. So now Beltre comes up to the plate, trying to keep this inning going, but he grounds out, easy ground out to the catcher that time. So now Giavotella, 2 outs, trying to keep it going, but cannot do that. He pops out to Rizzo at first base, and we get out of that inning with 2 runs at least, as we have DeSclafani on the mound, and he's pitching pretty good up to this point. Striking out Ian Happ. This time, striking out another batter. Chris Bryant comes up. He strikes out. So we're on to the 5th inning. He still hasn't given up a hit. If you see all these strikeouts, nobody on the Chicago Cubs can touch him as Schwarber strikes out that time. So now we're on to the bottom of the 5th inning. I mean, they haven't touched the ball on offense at all, but we're trying to get going as well as John Giavotella comes to the plate, and he hits one to the right center gap, and that one's going to be past Jason Hayward as he tries to dive at that one, but we're getting greedy here. Johnny Giavotella, not known for his speed, slides into third base barely under the tag, and you can see how close that was. Barely in, as we needed that triple as our pitcher comes up, so all he needs to do is make contact. And he does that, but he lines straight out to Rizzo at first base. So here comes Lewis Brinson, 0 for 2. But I've been raving about how hard the ball has been jumping off his bat. And on a 3-2 count, he drives this one to center field for a clutch hit. So the guys that probably weren't the best hitters in the regular season, Lewis Brinson and Real Muto, they're proven to be pretty clutch in the playoffs, as that's pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good sign of things to come because, I mean, we're going to need a lot of these young guys. We're going to need some of these old veterans as well to come through in games like these when we are facing a tough lineup like the Cubs, as Almora Jr. comes in to pinch hit this time. And in the 6th inning, he tries to get a hit on the board. He takes one deep to left field. Josh Bell running to the wall, and he just gets to it. So 2 outs here in the 6th inning, as one more batter is retired, and no hits through 6 innings of work for DeSclafani. So on to the 7th inning here, a lazy ground ball to second base, and I mean, this perfect game is brewing as Jason Hayward comes up with the hardliner to third base. No hits up to this point. Can he keep this going? Yes, he can. Rizzo grounds out to first base. On to the 8th inning, no hits given up, as they actually bring in Swarzak. And Swarzak, you just saw it, last game gave up hits. The first game gave up hits. I mean, his ERA is above 10 at this point, and they bring him in. I'm surprised. In a win-or-go-home game, they bring in somebody out of the bullpen who's been getting absolutely shelled, and that's no different in this one, as he gives up 2 hits, but he does catch a break this time, trying to bunt with 2 strikes with our pitcher instead of risking it hitting into a double play. I'd rather take the out than double play. So here comes Brinson up to bat, and he pops up for the infield fly. So now 2 outs here. Josh Bell coming to the plate, and 1 for 3 up to this point, but he can explode at any time as he gets one to hit high in the zone, takes this one deep to left field, and that one is going to be off the wall as Josh Bell comes through in the clutch, drives in 2 runs, and it's a 5-0 lead, and we are this much closer to taking home the NLDS as Domingo Santana says we're not done yet. He drives one to right field. So now guys on the corners with the MVP coming to the plate. They had to take Swarzak out. They bring in Kyle Ryan, the lefty. But, you know, we've been tearing up lefties. See game 1, Quintana. But Machado does pop up to the right fielder, Jason Hayward, and they get out of this inning. But back to the mound. DeSclafani still has a perfect game going. And here he's facing a batter here, 3-2 count. Josh Bell comes through with the glove, and that might be the signature play in this game as he robs a base hit, keeps the perfect game intact. I mean, an unlikely play that time coming from our left fielder, Josh Bell. But coming to the plate is Contreras, and he says, we're not having any of that. Perfect game done. Double down the right field line, and he gets through almost 8 2/3 innings without giving up a hit. But Contreras had something to say about that. But what a performance it's been for DeSclafani as Ian Happ comes up. That's actually Schwarber. He strikes out on the outside part of the plate, and here is Ian Happ. He gets a pitch to hit down the left field line, and that's going to be the first run of the game for the Cubs here in the 8th inning. And, I mean, it was just a great performance, but I think this is the end. So here we bring out who else but Edebrey Ramos out of the bullpen. Remember that game, last game, 5 strikeouts through 2 innings. Hopefully he can repeat that same performance as he does get a strikeout this time to end the inning. So on to the top of the 9th inning, 3 outs away from clinching this NLDS and moving on to the NLCS, but he gives up a hit here. But I trust him, so I'm going to keep him in the game. Here he's facing Javier Baez on a 3-2 count, gets a ground ball, and that is easy work for the strong arm of Manny Machado, getting it back to Justin Bour. And look at this, man. Anthony DeSclafani, I mean, just straight dominance. 8 strikeouts, 2 hits given up through 7 2/3 inning. And here comes Jason Hayward, and we are moving on to the NLCS. What a pitching performance that was from DeSclafani. He proves that he was worth the free agent acquisition. I mean, what a year he's had. And seeing that he actually had the last 2 years off of baseball, he comes back, signs with the Marlins, and he gets it done in the playoffs. An unlikely story coming from here in Miami, and we get 13 hits. I mean, look at the domination by our offense. I mean, we had at least 6 guys with 2 hits. So, I mean, you cannot lose games like that. And with pitching like we've had, I mean, we straight shut down the Cubs in this series. And I think their confidence was broken once we won 2-0 on the road, because they did not show up at all this last game, game 3. So we're headed to the NLCS. So hit subscribe, hit that like button, because we got to find out who we're going up against next. It could be the Dodgers. It could be the Nationals. We'll see. So stay tuned. Let's go.